Hi, this is Kevin Smith. I'm one of the project managers at StockTrak.com. I'm going to be going over some of the new features that we've introduced for fall 2019. A couple of these features actually we released late last spring, but they were not available for most classes because they were started after the classes had started. So to get right into it, the first big thing, this is actually StockTrak's 30th anniversary. So we were started in 1990, and if you look at the changelog for StockTrak, you can actually find an interactive timeline to see how StockTrak developed over time. So for the interactive timeline, besides just the timeline that we've added, there's actually quite a lot of stuff in here to help you understand when we release new features. If you log into your StockTrak professor account, if you go under admin, you go to professor resources. One of the main resources on this page is our enhancements and changelog. So in here, you'll find a little bit more details about all the stuff I'm covering today. You can even go back in time to see when we've added previous stuff, and you can find our StockTrak turns 30 blog posts, including all the information about what we've been doing for the last 30 years. Um, More substantive changes are going to impact your classes. The first and foremost is class prizes. So we have partnered with Wiley Publishing. They create CFA, CFP, and other financial services industries review courses to help students get prepared for the certification exams. Starting last spring, but continuing into this fall, the top student in every class from the United States and Canada with 20 or more students will win a free Wiley certification course of their choosing. They can choose between the CFP, CPA, CFA, SIE Series 7 and Series 63 courses. If you're not familiar with the SIE course, this is a new course that was introduced by FINRA a few years ago. It's required before students can take the Series 7 or Series 63. And this one's special in that students don't actually need a sponsor to take it. They can just take it on their own. So it's becoming the standard in the financial services industry for students to take the SIE exam before they're even applying for jobs. And so it's being pushed quite heavily to be done as part of business school finance programs. So to redeem these prizes, we reach out to all the professors within 2 weeks of their classes ending, and we're going to ask you for your top students' contact information and what their preference for course is, and then we'll get them set up for their free prep course. If we don't hear back from professors within 30 days, we reach out to the top students directly just to hear from them. We do try to reach the professors first in case they want to award their class prize based on Sharpe ratio or some other metric. Next up, in the same vein, we have a new service level based on the SIE. So the new service level is $99.95 per student. This one includes both the StockTrak.com Gold service level package, so 400 trades over 18 weeks with all the security types you want, but it also includes the SIE exam review course provided by Wiley. So, I mean, this would be normally $31.95 for the gold service level plus $175 for the review course. So students are getting it at a little bit more than half off to get the whole package together. So if you are on if your program is on track for most students to be expected to pass a CFA or a Series 7 and to enter the financial service industry, this is a pretty good route to go for your students. Now, if you don't use this service level and use any other service level, students can still add the SIE review course when they register for StockTrak. It's not discounted quite as much though, so they get a better deal if you go through this method for the entire class. So next up, other rules that would apply for every class. The biggest one we added actually last spring, but we call it the diversification rule. So with the new diversification rule, the professors set up caps on how much students can invest in each security type rather than each individual security. So basically, this would work as an example. A diversification limit at 50% for stocks would mean students can invest up to 50% of their starting cash in equities, stocks, ETFs. The rest of their cash they would need to invest in other security types like mutual funds or bonds. So this can be useful if you really want to insist on your students allocating their portfolio a certain way across security types, or just to make sure they diversify in some way and they have to, do more than just stocks or more than just mutual funds, whatever you want to encourage for your class. The next big change is we have a new professor dashboard. So the next time you log in your professor account, you're going to see this right away. The idea here is that we cleaned up a lot of the stuff that was there before, and we put the stuff relative to your class first and foremost. So let me log into my professor account, and I'll show you a little bit more about what this looks like. So I've just logged into my class. The first thing I see at the top of the page here is I get a summary of the total students in my class, how many students have registered, how many total trades, how many posts they've made in the StockTrak forums, and how many trading days I have until my class ends. Once I get down here, class announcements. Professors can post an announcement anytime. If they do post an announcement, it appears at the top of the page as soon as their students log into their class. So you can post as many as you want, you can update this frequently, and you have complete control over it. Class forum. Every stock class on StockTrak has a forum built in. This allows students to post messages to each other, discuss trading strategy, discuss class topics if they see fit. Not every class uses this, but you'll be able to see a summary of the posts that your students are making. If there's something you don't like that's there, you're also able to delete posts from there. Top traded securities. So with the top traded securities module, this one, let me see if I can pull up a other class that I have with the same information. This one is going to show the top 5 stocks that have been traded in your class. So if I pull up this one here, you can see it'll show I've had 2 students, 4 students, and then 55 students trading one particular stock. So it gives you kind of a class discussion starting point because you can see how your students are actually interacting with their portfolios, what's the most popular, and you can use it as a discussion point of why are each of those most popular. If I go over here, this featured news, this is actually a news feed from StockTrak. So this is going to, every time we announce a new feature and release it as part of the platform, it's going to accompany a post in here talking about what that feature is and how it works. So it's going to rotate between all of the, basically the newest stuff that we add, because we often do add new features even in the middle of the semester. I will mention a couple of those as part of this webinar. The next up is the class ranking. So the class ranking is going to list the students in your class. It will list all of them. In this class, I just happen to only have 5 accounts listed. But it'll show the portfolio, it'll show the username and first name, last name, and a button to view this individual student's portfolio. And last up is the assignment progress. So the assignment progress basically is the same as if you've used an assignment before. It shows all the students in your class, the progress they've made on the assignments you've given them, and details button to see what their progress is on each individual task in your assignment. If you're not familiar with the assignments on StockTrak, I'm going to mention them a little bit later as part of the next enhancement, which is some updates to the class creation flow. So we made 3 important changes to the way professors create their class. If you use the exact same way you've done it before, you won't notice anything different, but some of the new things that you can do, the most important one for most professors at this time of year is you can now duplicate either rules from a previous class. So if I go back to StockTrak and I go to create a new class, so under administration, I'm going to here's to new class. There's a button right at the front here to copy previous class. If I click this, I have a drop down showing all of the classes I've previously created on StockTrak, and it will show me all of the rules that I used for that class, along with a create button where you can just copy all of the rules. So once I've clicked that, I can just keep clicking next, and all of the settings are going to be saved from my previous class. The only thing I'll still be choosing is the actual service level I'm using for my class name, number of students, and the payment method and the dates, because this will vary from class to class. Otherwise, all the other settings from the author of the textbook through the starting cash and all the other settings I wanted to use, these are going to be copied over directly from what I did before. So you can see here, if I go to the security types and trading rules, since the diversification option is new, this was not on the last class I set up, I still have to choose this one manually. So just make sure you leave that, you have that selected, or it might have a lower cap than you're expecting for your class. Next up, as part of the class creation flow, we actually integrated assignments creation. So you can see after I choose my security types, I'm prompted to create my class assignment. Now, if you haven't used assignments on StockTrak before, there's three basic types. The first one is articles. So articles are some very basic information. These are really for more introductory classes, stuff that students would need to know in order to use StockTrak. So for example, what is a stock? We use videos, we use infographics, we use tutorials, and each one of them ends with a quiz. The next type is these tutorial videos. So these walk the students through using StockTrak.com. So every class, pretty much regardless of their starting position, probably should be familiar with these videos because it talks to them about how they use StockTrak.com. And then finally, towards the end of the list, we have our trading activities. So you can require your students to make a certain number of trades, certain types of trades, use certain order types, use different security types, different markets. So you specify how many of each trade you want to do. You say, do require this as my assignment, and that's all you need to do. There's also some other things in here for career development, for personal finance, and some other activities as well. But I'll click next. Oh, I do need to give an A for my assignment. So if you haven't used assignments before, just as a reference, these first 10 items up here, we recommend for most classes. Same with the next 15 items that come beyond it. These really are to help students understand how to use StockTrak. You can see they're very heavy in these tutorial videos. Beyond that, depending on what type of class you're running, you choose different assignment tasks. Most classes will just have one assignment that goes through most of the semester, but a lot of professors who are a little bit more ambitious with it will give certain trading assignments from week to week just to make sure students are actively managing their portfolios. So I have the stuff I've selected I want. I chose the date range for this particular assignment, and I can click next to create my class and my assignment all at the same time. So next we actually added a few new reports. So these are the first reports we've added in StockTrak in a number of years, and we've added them based on all the professor feedback we've been getting and the stuff that'd be most useful to see in every class. The first one we have is called the activity report. And the activity report is designed explicitly to help you understand how your students are interacting with their portfolios on the website. So if I pull up my class that I've just created, I go to my summary reports. I have my activity report here is the newest one in the list. So this class is new, so there's not too much to see right now, but this chart at the top will show the total number of orders and the total number of trades placed in your entire class for the last either 14 days or 30 days, however you want to see it. And then if you click on each individual day, we'll give you a little bit more information about that day. How many trades were placed, how many orders were placed, the average daily portfolio return of your class, what the S&P 500 return for that day was. So this is a pretty good way to get a picture of when your students are interacting, when the students are most frequently checking their portfolios, and a little bit of information about how they're doing compared to the S&P 500. The bottom half of this report lists all the students in your class. The number of trades, the number of orders, their portfolio value, Sharpe ratio. And if you click more info, you'll get this same chart for each individual student, where you can also see this individual student's trades and orders per day. And then you'll also have a list of their most recent orders below here. So you'll be able to see, has this student been logging in, have they been placing any orders? For example, they might not have trades executing if they're using a lot of limit orders, and you'll be able to see that difference. Next up is our new diversification report. So our diversification report is going to be released this September. This one is a little bit different. This one is specifically so you can see how your class is dividing their portfolio by security type and by industry over time. So at the top here, the top half of the report again is going to be summations for your class. So it's going to show your class's total portfolio breakdown by security type over the last week. So how much cash versus equities versus mutual funds, etc., going over time. The bottom half of the report, you will also have those buttons for diversification for individual students. You'll also have a button to see their total, a pie chart showing their portfolio breakdown. So if I pull up the same report here on my testing account, because this one is not available for the public yet. You'll see it has the breakdown between stocks and equities. Each individual student here, you can click the button to view their portfolio, which shows their their open position, trades, etc. If you click view diversification, it'll show you a pie chart showing their breakdown by security type, and also a separate one for sectors. It'll show you, this one's got a certain percent in consumer goods, a certain percent in technology. So this report is still in development. It's probably going to be released in the first week of September. So last minute reports is a new one called custom reports. So with our custom reports, you can build your own reports. We basically open up the database, we open up a few new functions for you, and you can see exactly what you want to see, how you want to see it. Your reports will go between classes, so if you create one once, you'll be able to use it from semester to semester. And there's quite a lot you can do with this. So if I go back to my StockTrak account, I go to my reports, and I can click custom report to create my first custom report. So I'm going to create a new one because I don't have one yet. And let's say I want this report to show me specific user details. So every custom report by default requires the username, so you can't remove this one. But from there, you get to choose what you want to see. So user info, things like first name, last name, email address, the current user activity. So this is live data. When's the last time they logged in? What's their value? How many trades have they made? What's their rank in the class? These next three categories, you can choose one of the three, but you can't get all three at once because it would change the shape of the graph. So for example, historical data, you can go back and get the portfolio value, the number of trades, and the market value for any day of the competition. And you can go back in time and you can add the same value more than once. So one of the common ways this would be used is if, for example, you wanted to check the portfolio value and the cash balance versus market value every Friday of the competition. Because a lot of professors we work with try to mandate that the students maintain less than 50% cash balance in their portfolio at the end of each Friday. So this would be a quick and easy way to check that. Alternatively, you can have the open positions where you can see some of the current open positions of the students in your class. And if you build one with the open positions, it'll list each student one after another along with all of their holdings. You can also see their trading data. So this would be as if you wanted to create like a transaction history report for your entire class. You can see the order side, the order status, type, all that stuff, including their trade notes. And last up, the functions. So the functions, things like editing the username, resetting your student's password, which is another new feature, and a button to view the student's portfolio, and a button to add and remove cash from their accounts. So these are the fields I want in my custom report. So I've got it. I gave it a name to my report. I click create. So now when I go to my reports page, it's now one of the items in the top here, and it's going to carry over between all my classes moving forward. So here I see the students in my class, I see the information I requested, and I have these buttons to do all the stuff that I wanted to do. So the other new features that are part of this report is you can now change your student's username if you want to. You can reset their passwords directly. So if you have a student who's saying they can't access their account, you can come in here and reset their password. The view button here will show you that student's portfolio, and the cash adjustment let you add or remove cash from the student's account. We also rebuilt the trading page on StockTrak for this semester. So there's a lot of good stuff in here. We added a lot of new information, helping students get research right from the page. So if I pull up the trading page here, some of the stuff that was there before you might not be aware of. There's a symbol lookup now built into the trading page. So if a student just types a company name, we give the symbols that match. As soon as the symbol is entered, we load a performance chart showing the stock over time. There's two types now. One's called the simple chart, which is going to load just the The simple chart is just a color-coded green or red daily performance chart showing how this stock's price moved over the last day. Whereas the advanced chart, which we've had before, is a little bit more detailed, and they can go down to the hour, minute, day, however they want to view it. They can change this chart type. They can add more symbols for comparative analysis, and they can do a lot more with it. We also put the logo in here. We made the last price and days change a little bit bigger and more obvious. And towards the bottom of the page is the biggest change. So we added a bunch of information about this company. So company profile, who are they, what do they do? Analyst rating, so this is going to show me what is Wall Street saying about this stock. Company news, news stories mentioning the stock, why is the price going up and down. Price history, showing the stock's price over time. Students can go all the way back to IPO, and it is adjusted for splits and dividends. Financial statements, income statement, balance sheet, cash flow statement, going back 5 years, annually or quarterly. Actually, it goes back even more than 5 years now. It goes all the way back, I think, almost 20 years. This was actually just updated. And detailed quote, which is going to show the things like EPS, dividend yield ratios, things like that. Next up, team portfolios. So team portfolios is a new feature, but this one is only available to schools that have a site license for StockTrak. So if you're not having payment for individual students, if your school has a site license covering the entire program, then you'd be able to take advantage of this. With a team portfolio, you can put your students into teams on StockTrak. So every student still has their own login. Every student still has their own portfolio. Every student still makes their own trades, and there is still individual rankings, so you can differentiate one student from another. But you can also put your students into teams. So if students are in teams, they also have a shared team portfolio. So their open positions are all combined. Their cash balances and all that are also combined to get a team portfolio. There are team rankings, and there's team Sharpe ratio calculated. So it turns it into a more effective group project. So you can both monitor how the team as a whole is performing, and you can separately monitor each student's individual performance. So it works both ways. If you want more information about team portfolios or the StockTrak site license as a whole, feel free to let a sales team know, and we'll be happy to give you a demo. Last up, we have a bunch of personal finance tools added into StockTrak. So we made a personal finance service level available about a year ago. The personal finance service level, it removes some of the more advanced features. So for example, there's no options or futures trading. It's restricted to just US equities, bonds, and mutual funds. But we supplemented it with over 100 lessons for personal finance that are standardized to the most popular college personal finance textbooks. So budgeting, insurance, credit, everything in between, and there's a ton of stuff about it. Articles, videos, quizzes, lessons, and it's designed to be the perfect supplement for a college level personal finance class. At the same time, we have a budgeting game that's coming later this fall. It'll be available for classes this spring. The budgeting game has 2 different modes you can use, and this one of the modes is called the college mode, in which case the students you have in the budgeting game take on the role of a student with a part-time job at a cafe. You decide what their fixed expenses each month are, how much rent they pay, what are their energy bills, what's their internet bill, and then they work part-time at a cafe where you choose how much they earn per hour and what's their income tax rate. So they manage their income, they have some fixed expenses, and then every day or so there's choices they need to make and events that happen that impact their personal finances. So opportunities to make more money, a lot more opportunities where unforeseen circumstances pop up that's going to cost them. So the goal here is for them to transfer money to their savings account to build their net worth and to responsibly use their credit card to build up their credit score. So if you want more information about the budgeting game, or if you're another professor at your school teaching personal finance that wants more information, we would love to give them more information about this and give them the demo of our test version of the budgeting game. Otherwise, that's it. That's what's new for this fall. There are more features that will be coming this September and October. We're revamping the Forex trading. We're changing some more features available for the site license clients, and we got a lot more updates coming in terms of the reporting features and some of the student usability features. But if you have any questions, feel free to contact us. My name is Kevin Smith. You can also contact Tom Reddy at treddy@stocktrak.com. So thanks for watching, and good luck starting your classes.